Alright, we got the brief spoilers for chapter 1105, and this chapter is very exciting, don't worry, but like I said, they are brief. And unfortunately, we are not getting Readon's full summary for the chapter this week either. However, we're probably going to get the chapter released around the same time-ish, sometime tomorrow, maybe, like the fan translations. So the next One Piece video that I upload will be my chapter review for the full chapter. So subscribe for that so you can get an immediate notification in your sub feed for when I put that out. But anyway, let's go over the previous chapter real quick and then we'll get into these juicy spoilers. So Kuma showed up back to Egghead Island to save Bonnie from Saturn, who he wound up punching so hard that he broke his face and sent him through the Egghead City. Multiple buildings collapsed. But it was all for naught because Saturn can regenerate. Yep, I guess it's just one of the abilities of his devil fruit, and he's seemingly unfazed by it after the fact, although it did look like it hurt him. Then Saturn starts questioning Vegapunk about how this is possible, since Kuma seemingly shouldn't be active, let alone have some kind of consciousness. And Vegapunk says that it could be another ability that the Buccaneer race that Kuma comes from has. Now, he doesn't elaborate, so I didn't really speculate too much, but it's possible that the Buccaneers can imprint a part of their will or consciousness or soul, something like that, into an inanimate object possibly. So there's very likely a portion of Kuma's soul or will or something that is now within his cyborgified body. And that also could be giving us insight into what the Buccaneers did in the past possibly. Saturn comes back trying to kill Kuma as he is comforting Bonnie, but Sanji's able to knock him away, and Frankie straight up shoots a radical beam through him, but this also still doesn't seem to affect him until Kizaru comes in and knocks Frankie away, to which Vegapunk scolds him about, and we see that Kizaru is still kind of conflicted about this. We talked about him possibly having this face turn coming in this arc, although it's not happening immediately. Then at the end of the chapter, Saturn calls for a freaking buster call on Egghead, with all of the marine ships in front of it, of course, are just going to fire off this massive barrage and try to take it out. And that's where the cliffhanger left us. So coming into this chapter, which is called The Peak of Stupidity, Luffy is near the food making machine. Okay, so we're getting an update on Luffy. We didn't see him in the previous chapter, but in the chapter before that, we saw that someone gave him food because, he needed to recover from using Gear 5, take out Kizaru. And it's implied, at least in my opinion, that Kizaru was the one who gave him the food. It still could be Caribou, I suppose, but I'd like to think that it was Kizaru. But now, apparently that wasn't enough food. Luffy needs even more than what he was stuffing his face with, and he's gone to one of the food making machines on Egghead. We saw that they have the ability to just make food because Vegapunk can pretty much make a machine that does anything, aside from explain key portions of the story, as well as giving us valuable exposition that isn't ambiguous. But yeah, like I said, this is Luffy, slowly recovering so he can have his big triumphant Goku return very soon. Now, as for what's happening with the Buster Call, it's not really mentioned here in these spoilers. Like I said, these are just briefs supplied to us by Scotch Informer. But anyway, Kizaru destroyed the rocket vacuum tube that's heading towards the labo phase. Okay, so Kizaru's still doing heelish stuff. Like I said, he hasn't had his full face turn yet, but I suppose he's destroying the rocket vacuum tube, which is essentially just the elevator, I guess, that takes you to the lab, because at the end of the previous chapter, Vegapunk instructed Atlas to take Kuma to the labo phase. And that also made me wonder, what was going on with that? Are they gonna, repair Kuma, or I don't know, do something to upgrade him possibly? Because I don't know how long this fleeting consciousness of Kuma is lasting. I mean, if the Buccaneers do have an ability to pass their will on or pass part of their soul on or something into a inanimate object or a machine or something, then this could be permanent, because that could also explain what's going on with the ancient robot that is on Egghead as well, which Vegapunk said that he didn't have the dynamic power source that existed, before the Void Century to power it. So there is something that turns it on, such as the drums of liberation from Gear 5. But it is possible that it's being powered by the Buccaneer supernatural ability or something. We have different overview scenes. So yeah, this is, could be anything. Bunch of stuff happening here possibly. Scotch Informer also said that Sanji will have something in this chapter. I wonder what it is. Maybe a clash with Kizaru, because, he kicked away Saturn's claw leg thing missing in the previous chapter. So maybe Kizaru comes in and they have a clash. I mean, that would be interesting, right? I mean, Kizaru is kind of kick-centric the way that Sanji is, so it makes sense that they would have a battle, right? And man, depending on what happens with that, the agendas that people have will go crazy. But anyway, now for the super juicy stuff, because the chapter ends with the destroyed marine ship that was heading to sink the ship of the evacuating research staff and technicians who work on Egghead. The marine ship was destroyed by an unknown party. One of the Marines shouted to contact Admiral Kizaru and says, "They're heading to Egghead. No break next week." All right, I think most of us kind of know who this could be. No, it's obviously not Dragon because he doesn't do anything, but it's probably the Blackbeard Pirates, because way back last year, I think it was like March, chapter 1079, before we cut over to Elbaf and Shanks took out Kid, we saw one of the last parts of Egghead. And it was also when these research staff and technicians were leaving Egghead. Like, we see them boarding the ship, you know, led by Sentomaru, I suppose. And then it cut to the Blackbeard pirate ship heading to Egghead. And it looks like it is one of the main two ships. I don't know how many ships Blackbeard exactly has, but they both have like the same kind of aesthetic to them. Two large logs on the side with like a traditional ship part in the middle. And that's what it looks like from the slight skewed perspective that we get from the side. And it really depends on the timeline of this, because we saw that there was a portion of the Blackbeard pirates at Hachinosu, you know, with all of the Garp fight stuff that was going on. And then we saw that Blackbeard himself, with another portion of his crew, was fighting against Law, who he defeated, but then they were able to escape. And the only ones that we didn't really see were Katarina Devon and Lafitte. So it could be Katarina Devon and Lafitte with, I don't know, some kind of skeleton crew or something on their own individual ship. But it would obviously be way more exciting if it is Blackbeard or the entire crew or most of it. But I don't know, it would seem just like a little bit too much at this point. But them destroying the ship that's getting away is pretty interesting. Ship filled with the staff and technicians. I don't know if their goal is to kill them, but it would seem more beneficial to just abduct them and then force them to like make technology for the crew, you know, like their own private Frankie. And you know, also last year, I speculated about this with Parvision, Sai, and Dax Sake about the possibility of Blackbeard taking Saturn's devil fruit, or I don't know, somebody's devil fruit here possibly or something. And also this could be the reveal that Caribou is a part of the Blackbeard pirates this whole time, you know, because that's been a lingering suspicion, because he's been reporting to someone, although we never got insight into who that actually was. Very likely to be Blackbeard. And, you know, that's why they are coming to Egghead, because they got intel from Caribou, possibly. But that's pretty much it for this one, guys. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. And if you liked it, please give it a like. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.